Hello everyone, Kaoz here and welcome to another Oldschool Runescape video. Today, my 2025 1 to 99 magic guide. This skill is absolutely essential for the progression of your account, providing access to combat spells, utility, enchantment, teleports, and much more. Not only is it something you can train while paying barely any attention, you also have great money makers behind it. In today's video, I will take you by the hand from levels 1 all the way to 99 in different ways, and all you have to do is find which methods you like the most on your way to that magic skill cape. Scapers, I'm giving my puppy a treat and a kiss on the forehead for every new subscriber and a like on this video, so make sure to do that if you find this video useful to make her happy. You can also join our Discord server with the link in the description to play with me and our amazing community. Magic is one of the most diverse skills in the game, not only because you have a new spell available at almost every single level, but because you have 4 different spellbooks all with a different approach. The standard spellbook has the highest amount of spells with options for combat, utility, and teleports. The ancient spellbook is mostly for offense, the lunar spellbook is mostly for utility, and the Kaoz spellbook also offers some variety, but people use it most often for thralls. You need a magic level of 75 for the quest cape, and the achievement diary cape has a much steeper requirement of level 96, but for this one you're able to boost with potions or other methods. Even for unrestricted accounts, magic provides an insane amount of utility to ignore. Since this is my first skill guide in 2025, let me explain how we are switching things up. I want to show you how to get from level 1 all the way to 99 in 4 different ways. Before any of them, I will guide you through the early game to get us to a level where you have competitive methods for the amount of effort needed. Think of this segment as a first stepping stone, and something I would recommend you follow to open the door to even more methods. After that, we will look at pathways to get to level 99 in the most AFK way possible, the fastest way possible, and finally the most profitable way possible. The fourth and final segment will be how I would get level 99 in present day, which might make use of a different combination of training methods seen in other categories. Whenever possible, I will include methods that, although I wouldn't really recommend, are part of the respective branch to 99, and I will tell you why I wouldn't do them. For example, splashing as part of an AFK method since it's way too slow, or enchanting bolts since it's extremely expensive. But that's pretty much it for the spoilers. Finally, this time around, I will mention needed and useful items during each method to avoid having a big portion at the beginning of the video talking about the general items, since you may not use them in every single method. So with that out of the way, let's begin. So if you're a brand new account, we are going to start with 2 quests that will make your life a little easier as we skip over the first few levels. Get yourself a burnt meat, which you can get by double cooking a piece of raw beef on a fire or a range, or simply burning it after failing to cook it. With an Eye of Newt, an onion, and a rat's tail obtained during the quest, go to Remington to do Witch's Potion. The 325 experience you get from this will take you from levels 1 to 4, so a pretty humble start. This next one applies to unrestricted accounts, although iron accounts can still try it for a small bump of an experience. By getting yourself 4 color beads either from the Grand Exchange or by killing imps, an NPC in the Wizard's Tower will need a set of black, red, white, and yellow beads to finish a quest in a matter of seconds. This will award you with 875 magic experience, taking us from levels 4 to 10. These are the only quests you can realistically do if you're a brand new account with no other requirements, because any other quest that grants a magic experience has either a prerequisite quest which are a bit far off, or have you slaying some high level monsters which you simply shouldn't worry about until you gain a few combat levels. But trust me, after level 10 you will gain experience rather quickly, so no need to worry about these. The next few levels will be done through combat, and something I will include for the early game segment because you want to start getting some hit points levels, and early game magic is super powerful against some quest bosses coming up. Before talking about it, let me explain the concept of elemental weaknesses. If you don't want to do this, the AFK segment has you covered. In May of 2024, Oldschool Runescape received one of the biggest changes to combat in 11 years. And no, not that type of combat update. Along buffs and nerfs to some melee and ranged items, the game saw the introduction of something called elemental weaknesses. As the name suggests, this means that some monsters in the game are now weak to certain elemental spells, and in short, they receive more damage from them. In the past, the higher your magic level, the higher tier of elemental spell you were able to use. And the higher the spell, the higher the max hit. This meant that whenever you used elemental spells for combat, there was almost no reason to use anything other than the highest one at your disposal, and at level 95 magic, Fire Surge was your best option. This time around we have 2 important changes. First, every elemental spell in its category deals a static max hit, but every time you unlock a new spell in that category, the previous one will gain that new max hit. For example, Wind, Water, and Earth Strike have a max hit of 2, 4, and 6 respectively. But when you unlock Fire Strike at level 13, this spell and all the previous ones will share that max hit of 8. This may not make much sense, but that is where the second change comes into play. Certain monsters now have elemental weaknesses, which means that they will take 1% additional damage for every 1% weakness to an elemental spell effective against them. For example, if you're level 13 magic and have access to Fire Strike, your Water Strike spell will have a max hit of 8. If you attack a Fire Giant which has a 100% weakness to water spells, your max hit will go up to 16. This will naturally lead to a lot more experience, and something you can do pretty safe. Let's go over this route and focus on the others later. So after that little lesson on elemental weaknesses, we are going to do a quest by the name Witch's House. Use Earth Strike to take care of the boss, which has 4 phases, and by defeating it, you will have unlocked Fire Strike. This quest will also get you from levels 10 to 24 hit points, which will help us survive some of the upcoming encounters. We have everything set up to start exploiting elemental weaknesses. And now, I recommend going to the Stronghold of Security to nab your 10k, and then buy Mind Runes and an Elemental Staff. For this demonstration, I gave my account some starting cash, and if you need a hand for your early game, come join our Discord for a little magic care package, since I know it may be a little unrealistic for someone to have thousands of Mind and Kaoz runes at this point. Go to the Asgarnian dungeon like you see in the video, and we are aiming for an area which has a ton of Ice Warriors and Ice Giants. Set your autocast spell to Fire Strike, and start blasting away. I recommend the safe spot I found where Ice Knights won't be able to do much about it. The Ice Giant safe spot is a little trickier, but by killing them you'll be getting some big bones to start working on early game prior. I did this until level 23 magic to unlock our next spell and our next training method. We will be doing something similar, but this time around we are going to the Isle of Souls through the portal in Edgeville. Head to the eastern part of the island and enter this cave to have easy access to a room full of fire giants with a super convenient safe spot. A skeleton nearby may attack you every now and then, but they are weak to air spells, so you can dispose of them rather quickly. My objective with this experiment was to see how long it took to get from levels 23 to 35, since realistically speaking, you can camp ice creatures with fire spells, and it would be almost the same process, however a little slower. And I'm happy to say that this process didn't really take too long. Thanks to Fire Giant's elemental weakness to water spells, I was hitting very consistently, and here's where I started noticing that I was racking up hit point levels rather fast. This is why I decided to go this route for early game instead of our easy accessible methods I will mention soon. Not to make the story long, I ended up getting to level 35 magic at Fire Giants with a cheeky Rune Scimitar drop, and then I went back to the Asgarnian dungeon to seal the deal with Firebolt spells. Because of the next tier of spells, I was doing more damage, and this naturally meant more experience. In the end, I walked out of this place with level 43 magic, 35 hit points, and combat level 30, in just an hour and a half of gameplay. I never really made another account back in the day, but without the elemental weakness change, this would have definitely taken around twice as long. The final step to leave the early game behind is to cast a spell called the Superheat item from levels of 43 to 55. This will help us reach the required level for High Alchemy, which offers a busted training method I personally like a lot. For this, you'll be smelting iron ore into iron bars, but before you do that we need some smithing levels. The Doric's quest to go from levels 1 to 10 mining, and then the Knight's Sword to reach level 29 smithing if you have never touched the skill before. Both of these will take less than 10 minutes, and it's a lot better than smithing things at an anvil. Superheat item provides a 53 experience per cast, and by making iron bars you will also be getting 12.5 smithing experience every time you use the spell. This means you'll need to do this 2,195 times to reach level 55. Additionally, if you cast the spell precisely 2,195 times, you'll receive around 27,000 experience in smithing. And after the Knight's Sword, this means that you'll reach level 40 by not doing any smithing at all. This concludes what I would personally call the early game of magic training, and now we are looking at the 3 different ways to achieve level 99, with an additional pathway at the end which will show how I would personally get level 99 by combining a few different methods. We will look at AFK, fast, and profitable experience gains in this order. If you're looking to get level 99 by paying as little attention as possible, we don't even need to get a higher level because both combat spells and Superheat still require a bit of attention. Instead, we are using enchantment spells from levels 1 all the way to level 80. Keep in mind that level 5 enchantment for Dragonstone is where we will stop, since Onyx and Zenyte items have super low buy limit or low volume, so they will barely buy. Plus, prices could be a lot more volatile. We will do tier 1 enchantment at level 7, or 10 if you did both of the initial quests, tier 2 at level 27, tier 3 at 49, tier 4 at 57, and the tier 5 at level 68. You can automatically cast the spell on a full inventory of items, making batches of 27 since all you need are Cosmic Runes and an Elemental Staff. For Dragonstone, you will need a Mud Battle Staff for both Earth and Water runes. By automatically casting the spell, you will process one item every 7 takes, which means roughly 850 casts per hour, not taking banking into account. For lower attention, let's go for 800 casts. You can check each tier of the spell on the wiki to see which item yields the highest profit, but remember to check both the daily volume and the average price. At the time of making this video, the items I would personally create are Ring of Recoils at tier 1, Necklace of Passage at tier 2, Bracelet of Slaughter at tier 3, Phoenix Necklace at tier 4, and Combat Bracelets at tier 5. Going with an approximate 800 casts per hour, experience in that same time will be 14,000 at tier 1, 30,000 at tier 2, 47,000 at tier 3, 54,000 at tier 4, and finally 62,000 at tier 5. Going from levels 10 all the way to 80 will take approximately 35 hours even with slow banking. And if you ask me, this is great because you literally have to pay no attention and you'll be profiting just a little bit. If you're starting a brand new account and want to get a good chunk of magic experience with zero effort, this is definitely it. We are stopping at level 80 for one of my favorite spells in the game, String Jewelry. This is how I got to level 99 in both the RuneScape 2 and when I came back to OSRS in 2018. This one is super straightforward. Get yourself a Mud Battle Staff, Astral Runes, and as many unstrung amulets as you can buy, remembering to check for profit and losses on the wiki before bulk buying. At the time of making this video, every single amulet will result in a loss, and the smallest one will be if you make Emerald Amulets. When you click the spell, it will turn all 27 unstrung amulets in your inventory into strung amulets automatically. And this is one of the spells which you cannot manually cast, making it perfect for our goal of AFK experience. When you're done, simply refresh your inventory and go at it again. With minimum attention, you can get around 120k magic experience per hour, and you'll also receive a small amount of crafting experience. If you can pay just a little more attention, and with semi-optimal banking, experience per hour will jump to around 150 or even 160,000. This means that you can get to our next milestone at level 86 in just a little over 10 hours. As I've said in many videos in the past, we are finishing our AFK magic journey with the lunar spell Plank Make. Requiring both a Lunar Diplomacy and a Dream Mentor to cast, this spell can also be cast both manually and automatically, but obviously we will do the former. With the spell, you can turn any normal, oak, teak, and mahogany logs into planks at no additional requirement, so always focus on mahogany for some profit. Your inventory will consist of a rune pouch with astral and nature runes, money, and the 26 mahogany planks. Put on the Staff of Earth and click the spell to start making some cash. For the love of God, turn sound effects off before you start. By automatically casting the spell, and depending on the banking efficiency, you'll be able to make around 1,000 planks per hour, resulting in 90,000 experience and around 275 KGP in that same time. This means around 105 hours to go from levels 86 to 99. To close out this path, you will notice that String Jewelry is more experience per hour, but you don't profit here. It's up to you to decide if you value AFK time over some money, but in my opinion, String Jewelry is not super expensive. By following this route, you will need 150 hours to go from levels 10 to 99, and you will do so by paying little to no attention, and even some profit along the way. Like I said before, I will include other methods that fit in this category that I don't really recommend because they are either extremely slow, extremely expensive, or some other factors. I won't go too much into detail when it comes to numbers, but I'll give you a quick explanation of how to perform each one. One of the most popular AFK training methods since the early days is splashing. I recommend getting a Cursed Amulet of Magic, and items that give you a combined minus 63 magic bonus. And with an Elemental Staff and combat runes of your choice, go to any part of the map except around the Lumbridge to attack low-level NPCs that will barely damage you. Some options are seagulls, ducks, and the rats in other parts of Gielinor. With the lowest spell being Airstrike, you can get around 6,000 experience per hour, and with the highest one, Fire Surge, this number goes up to 60k. The only reason why you would want to do this is if you want chip defense experience and hit points, because you can get more experience per hour with enchantment spells and it won't be as expensive. Splashing is also a decent option if you can pay literally no attention to your screen for upwards of 25 minutes, so put this method on low priority. Next we have an AFK magic training method that will also yield a pet. I will quickly explain the setup, but for more details check my 10 easy pets guide from last year. In short, wear the best magic armor you can, virtues being better than ancestral in this case. Go to the Varrock sewers with prayer points and the best blood spell you can cast, and with auto retaliate on, we will be fighting Scurious and healing with every hit. Naturally, this method will be pretty expensive, and the fact that Scurious doesn't drop anything spectacular means that this training method and the pet hunt will be restricted to those with a chunky bank. This is something I'll be doing in the future for the Scurious pet if I can't pay too much attention to my screen. Last but not least, and something that requires a different setup, is to use a foot pedal to cast High Alchemy. I've never done this, but one of my friends was kind enough to show how he can do it. However, this needs an additional computer if you want to use your PC for something else, since you can't move your mouse. If you have a laptop though, you can set this up during movie time, console gaming, or anything else you can think of that only requires foot movement for experience and profit. We are done with AFK, so let's switch gears and look at the fastest way to get to level 99. If you remember, it took us around 3 hours to go from levels 1 to 55 with the early game plan, and we changed methods at level 55 thanks to something called the Tele-Alking. We require completion of the Valamor quest called the Twilight's Promise to cast the teleport spell Civitas Illa Fortis. With noted items in your inventory, along a lava battle staff, law, and nature runes, you will cast High Alchemy on an item, immediately followed by a teleport to Civitas. This combination of spells will add up to 150,000 experience per hour at just level 55, making it absolutely busted for our next goal. For your noted items, I recommend something with high trade volume like the old reliable magic longbow. For other items, check a website called alchemate.com. This way we go from levels 55 in 71 in just under 5 hours. We stop at level 71 because there's a new method which topples bursting and barraging, which I will mention soon. After completion of the Lunar Diplomacy quest, you have access to a spell called Cure Me. And what's so special about it? Well, you can cast it whenever you are inflicted with poison or venom. The catch is that thanks to the Araxide Cave, and with these spiders being aggressive, they will venom you every time they touch you, even if you have Protect from melee active. The busted part about this method is that you can actually cast Cure Me every single take. And since this area is multi-combat, if multiple spiders are on you, you will literally always be venomed. By spam clicking the spell, you can gain a little over 400,000 experience per hour as early as level 71, which makes this absolutely ridiculous. It's also ridiculously expensive, coming in with a cost of about 3.5 million GP per hour. We will do this from the moment we can cast a spell all the way to level 99, which will only take us about 30 hours. With this route, the magic skill cape can be yours in as little as 38 hours from level 1. However, be ready to spend quite a bit of cash. Let's get into some additional methods for fast experience. Some of you might be asking, why is Cure Me now better than Ice Barrage? And that is simply due to less clicking and more consistency. If you don't like Cure Me, you can cast Ice Burst from level 70 to 94, and Ice Barrage from 94 to 99 at Maniacal Monkeys. We need completion of Desert Treasure 1 and the Monkey Madness too. This continues to be a key spot on your journey to 99 magic for chunky gains, which will also get you some hit points experience, and could be used for defense training. Grab your best magic and prayer items along teleport items, a light source, prayer, and prayer regeneration potions. Go to the popular place to kill maniacal monkeys deeper into the cave, and remember that the route might be different for every player depending on what path it took you during the quest. If you don't remember, the game will tell you if you're going the wrong way. Once there, peek on the cave to make sure no one is there, and go in with Protect from melee. Since we are going for fast experience, I recommend stacking the monkeys by running like you see in the video, remembering that you can hit a maximum of 9 even if more are stacked on top of each other. Once done, start casting Ice Burst and see the experience flying in. You can get anywhere between 200 and 280,000 experience per hour, going little by little depending on levels and all your gear. This number goes up to a little under 400k per hour, with around 250k hit points experience to go along with it. This is something that will still be fairly popular in 2025 and beyond, so give it a try if you want. The last spell I will briefly mention for the fast route is Enchanting Bolt. Just like Maniacal Monkeys bursting or barraging, you will almost see this in magic guides because it's extremely quick, but it can be one of the most expensive training methods in the entire game. One cast of the spell will enchant 10 bolts in your inventory. Every level you see on screen, you'll be able to cast a higher tier spell for better bolts. They get better in experience per hour, and obviously more expensive. This is a method I will focus on the least because it's just unrealistic unless you want to go for a speedrun or something. If you cast the highest tier available at full focus, you can get from levels 4 to 99 magic in under 27 hours. Pretty cool, but I do not recommend doing this. The second to last path to 99 will go over profitable methods to make a ton of money on your way to the magic cape. Remember that because we are favoring GP per hour, experience may not be as juicy for some of these methods, but it's not like you don't gain any experience while you are working on a big cash stack. After the initial quest, stick to jewelry enchantment from 10 to 55, which we have already covered, and then we will focus strictly on that high alchemy spell. Again, by visiting alchemy.com, look for items with positive alchemy value and high trade volume so you can buy large amounts. Some of the most popular items include red d'hide body, black d'hide body, and adamant plate body, just to mention a few. Do this from levels 55 to 66, which won't take too long. For our next method, we need completion of Desert Treasure 1 and access to a Pharaoh Scepter. By going to the pyramid with a rune pouch containing law and blood runes, as well as soft clay, you can make Kirill teleport tablets which take players to Canaphis. Use a third teleport on your scepter, exit through the doors, and then use the entrance on the back of the pyramid. Once here, simply click on the lectern to start making your tablets, which is actually kind of AFK. I recommend sticking to Kirill teleport tabs because at the time of making this video, they are the most profitable and the tablet with the highest daily trade volume, so they will sell pretty quickly. Our target level this time is 76, which means a little over 11,000 tablets for 5.5 million GP profit. We now have 3 spells one level away from each other, so I will explain them and you can choose which one you want to stick to. We will use a Lunar Spellbook to cast the Spin Flax at level 76, Super Glass Make at 77, and the Tanned Leather at 78. The last one needs completion of the Hard Fremenic Diary. Spin Flax lets you turn 5 pieces of flax into bowstring at once, gaining 75 magic experience and 15 crafting experience per item. Wear a Staff of Air, and have Astral and Nature runes in your inventory, and one final item to have 25 open slots to fill them with flax. This is a spell you have to cast manually for upwards of 90,000 magic and the crafting experience per hour, for an estimated maximum of about 260 KGB. Not super click intensive, but decent for a few levels. On the other hand, a method that will be super click intensive is Super Glass Make. Long story short, wear a Smoke Battle Staff with Astral runes in your inventory, and take 3 giant seaweed and 18 buckets of sand out of the bank. Cast the spell once, and your inventory will be full of molten glass. You have some instances of casting the spell, and excess molten glass will be dropping on the floor. If this happens, wait until there's 27 of them on the ground, and pick all of them up for the highest profit possible since we don't want to waste any resources. This method is slightly more profitable at nearly 500 KGP per hour, but magic experience will drop down to a whopping 30 to 35k, and you'll be gaining upwards of 80k crafting experience per hour. Give it a try, but this is the profitable method I recommend the least. The final one is called the Tanned Leather. This also processes items in batches of 5, so grab a Staff of Fire, Astral and Nature runes, and get an extra item in there to have 25 open slots. At the time of making this video, tanning Red Dragon Hide is the most profitable one at 280 GP per piece. Get a full inventory of them, cast the spell 5 times, and grab a fresh inventory to rinse and repeat. This is a method I showcased in one of my recent money-making testing videos, and despite the wiki showing 1.6 million GP per hour, I was pulling about 1 mil GP. For about 130k XP per hour, this method is a really good balance between AXP and the GP gains for the amount of effort needed. In order to gain the highest amount of profit through the magic skill, we are sticking to Tanned Leather. Spin Flax and Super Glass Make have the benefit of providing additional crafting experience, and the Plank Make can be done automatically for good XP and profit per hour. But not doing it manually won't rival Tanned Leather. To go from levels 78 to 99, you'll need to cast the spell around 141,000 times. Depending on what type of leather you convert, you'll be getting a pretty juicy cash stack when you hit level 99. An additional magic training method is the Degrime spell on the Archaeus spellbook. I have the spell here since herb prices are a little more unstable, so we can't rely on it too much for consistent money making. This spell turns a full inventory of grimy herbs into the clean variant, and you'll also gain herbler experience for each item you clean this way, but you will only get half the experience. Another reason why this isn't so reliable is that buy limit for grimy herbs is pretty low, relatively to how many you can clean per hour. If you want to try this method, I heavily recommend tweaking buy and sell prices. Before we move on to how I would personally get level 99 magic in 2025, I'll include an extra segment on this video since you can get magic experience passively by doing other activities. Variety is not huge, but will help you get the most out of your time when you are logged in. When you're doing things like training agility, questing, or combat to mention a few, you can take nature and fire runes with you to cast low or high alchemy spells whenever you have some ticks of downtime. Doing so will get you a good chunk of magic experience without even noticing, and will certainly put you several steps ahead when you actually have to train magic for a requirement you're missing for a quest or a diary. At level 82, and after completion of Lunar Diplomacy, you have access to a spell called Magic Imbue. This is not really useful whatsoever outside of training runecrafting via combination runes, but you can cast it every 13 seconds for 86 experience. Again, if you're doing something else like training another skill or have some ticks of downtime, you can get around 41,000 experience by not focusing on magic training at all. It's also not expensive because all you need is a Steam Battle Staff and the 2 Astral Runes per cast, so cost won't be a big issue. Not really passive, but I will include one final method I recommend mostly for Iron accounts. After the Client of Current, go to the Kaoz library and hand in books for experience. Get the plugin called Current Library, which will tell you where all the books are, and get all the individual books and then hand them in to people at the ground floor. They will give you books of knowledge for a bit of magic experience, and I don't really recommend doing this past level 40 or 50. So Scapers, how would I personally get a magic skill cape in present day? This will be a little anticlimactic because it doesn't really change much from what I did back in 2018 or from my magic guide back in 2023. However, I do have a few options I definitely recommend. I would do the initial quests, focus on combat training by either exploiting elemental weaknesses or defeating early game quest bosses, and then superheat item until I reach level 55. I would then do quest The Twilight's Promise to have access to the Civitas teleport, and performing tele-alking from 55 to 71. After completion of Lunar Diplomacy, I would then cast the Cure Me spell all the way to 99. And if I have some downtime, I would switch to String Jewelry since it's the superior spell for AFK magic gains at low cost. One cannot forget about training magic via high-level combat like Slayer, and if I wanted to go for an AFK pet, Scurious would definitely be on my to-do list once I have the correct gear for it. If I needed any money on my way to 99, I would use the spell providing the highest profit at my level to fund my next grind. So boys and girls, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something useful. If you did, tell me what your favorite spell is and why, and if you include the term RSN and your username in your comments, you'll be entered in our weekly bond giveaway, for which we will pick a winner on Friday's stream. I want to give a massive thank you to all the wonderful people you see on screen for supporting the channel monetarily. Your contributions go towards supporting my family and a local animal shelter we help every month. If you want to be part of this list of legends, click the join button below to see all the cool perks you can get for a monthly fee, in the videos, in the live streams, and of course in the Discord. In the next one, we will go over an updated POH guide to show you the most important part of a house, and a nice level progression for all the important furniture inside. For now, I hope you have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.